Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 870,000 awakening wonders and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Yes, part of woke Hollywood is returning to work. The writers are back and they are declaring victory. And instead of, for example, a She-Hulk writer getting a $396 residual check, they're now going to get a $696 residual check. Unfortunately, for them, the strike continues. We have reached day 100 of the Screen Actors Guild strike at time of recording, and whether we like it or not, you need adult pretenders to make pretend in Hollywood. For now. First, I think we should all collectively thank the Writers Guild of America for keeping the late night talk show hosts off our televisions and YouTubes for months. But all good things come to an end, and they have returned. But not all of them. Making a good case that there is a God and that he has a sense of humor, fully boosted late night talk show host Stephen Colbert has yet to return thanks to the coof. And the problem with Jon Stewart has been canceled. Problem solved. The strike has also given a company like Disney Marvel a chance to be embarrassed by what they put into production, delaying Echo again, although not far enough, Agatha, whatever it's called now, and Ironheart past the next presidential election. Not to mention canning 8 fully shot episodes of Daredevil and firing their writers and directors. But I suppose the real bad news, aside from the late night talk show hosts returning, is Amazon managed to complete the Rings of Power Season 2. You had one job, Hollywood unions. And once again, YouTube content creators are missing the wisdom we get from adult pretenders on the red carpet and during press tours.
Weird.
But the Film Actors Guild strike was supposed to be over by now. What happened? Apparently talks were going pretty good until they weren't. When the nanny and her brood of collectivists decided to put a 57-cent per subscriber levy on all streaming services.
We spent hours and hours with SAG-AFTRA over the last few weeks, and we were actually very optimistic that we were making progress. But then at the very end of our last session together, the Guild presented this new demand that kind of on top of everything for a per subscriber levy, unrelated to viewing or success. And this really broke our momentum, unfortunately.
And that money would go to, you guessed it, filling the coffers of the unions. So of course the talks with the AMTPT, which I call the armpit, broke down, and then the armpit walked out. But the nanny and her kooky coven of communists weren't done there. They decided to follow up that with regulating Halloween costumes of the union members, leading them to get roasted by their own union members, including Ryan Reynolds, who said this: "I look forward to screaming scab at my 8-year-old all night. She's not in the union, but she needs to learn." And former SAG-AFTRA president Melissa Gilbert, who said, "This is the kind of silly bullshit that keeps us on strike. Let's enact a policy that makes us look petty and incompetent all at the same time," which it does. This led to a response from the Film Actors Guild, not to walk it back, but to clarify. It does not apply to anyone's kids, yet. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there were other last-minute demands, including increased rehab benefits, a guarantee that none of their coke will be cut with fentanyl, and a 69-cent levy against any subscriber of a YouTube channel that uses any of the cringe political statements of an adult pretender against them. I've also heard from some very reliable sources that may be the voices in my head that the actors' request of immortality is back on the table. So, things aren't looking so good for the actors right now. As a matter of fact, they're so bad that George Clooney and a group of A-list actors offered to pay off their own union so they could go back to work. And we'll get to that, but if you recall in my last strike video, we discussed an actor who had to do gardening in his rent-controlled apartment building to make up for the rent he couldn't pay. And my only question at the time was, why don't you do what the rest of us do when we lose our job? Find another one. Well, apparently that's starting to happen. From the New York Times, as the strike wears on, actors turn to a familiar fallback job. The Hollywood cliche of performers working as servers in restaurants is back. And while that was in New York, things are much worse in LA. How much Los Angeles' film and TV production fell amid strikes. The 3-month period from July to September saw 5,311 shoot days in the area, which represents a roughly 41% decline from the same quarter last year. In other words, things have been going downhill in woke Hollywood prior to the worst time strike in history. And again, this wasn't a strike, it was a purge. Contract disputes were not the sole cause of the downward trend, as overall, on-location filming in the region has been continuously in decline since 2021. So as we approach big woke Hollywood being shut down for almost 6 months, all of this may have led to the Film Actors Guild doing something the Writers Guild of America didn't. Break. George Clooney, Scarlett Johansson, Tyler Perry, and other restless A-list actors pressure SAG-AFTRA to get a deal. So much for solidarity. A group of A-list actors is adding pressure on the Film Actors Guild leadership to find a way to resolve the actors' strike. George Clooney, Tyler Perry, Scarlett Johansson, and others held a Zoom meeting on Tuesday afternoon with the nanny, the president of SAG-AFTRA, and Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the union's executive director and a man with a hyphenated last name. Though the tone had been described as supportive, the actors did not call the meeting merely to express support. According to several sources, the A-listers represent significant discontent within the guild that talks have broken down, and they are looking for a path to restart negotiations and end the strike. Now, we wouldn't want George Clooney or Scarlett Johansson to have to sell one of their restaurants or mansions, or worse yet, not get attention for another month. But to be fair to Tyler Perry, at least he employs hundreds of people, but none of them are wrong. They do need to end this, and publicly embarrassing your union is something I'm completely for, which probably led to the immediate response from the nanny shooting this down and sounding like she's talking to children, because she is.
Hey everybody, it's me, Fran Drescher, your SAG-AFTRA president. And I wanted to just clarify a few things for you, because there's been a lot of confusion in the press today. So I'd like you to hear it direct from me where we're at. The suggestion that we take the caps off of the dues so that the highest paid members can contribute more. And although that's extremely generous, and we accept that graciously, that does not impact the contract that we're striking over whatsoever. We are a federally regulated labor union, and the only contributions that can go into our pension and health funds must be from the employer. So what we are fighting for in terms of benefits has to remain in this contract. And that's kind of apples and oranges, just so everybody understands that.
For more context, we'll head over to Puck News, which is behind a paywall, but don't worry, I'll read it so you don't have to. This is from Matthew Belloni, who's usually on the side of the unions, and again, as far as my side is concerned, I'm Treebeard.
I am on nobody's side, because nobody is on my side.
I guess I should say we are Treebeard, considering we're the paying customers within a culture that's been completely divided through the fortification of an entertainment industry that used to entertain, but now wants to socially engineer. Anyway, the $150 million gesture from George Clooney and his A-listers was just that. A gesture that the union was never going to take seriously because it takes a lot more to pay them off. This is like super well intentioned and stuff, and we really appreciate ideas from all of our members, but it doesn't really solve the problem, says the man with the hyphenated last name Crabtree Ireland. Except it does kind of solve the problem for us because it keeps woke Hollywood on strike, and quite frankly, the strike has been the most continuously entertaining thing Hollywood has put out in years. But once again, Clooney and his A-listers gesture did not solve the problem. It created another one. It made the union look really bad. It's also clear from these moves that the top earners and even the dwindling middle class of working actors are super frustrated with the stalemate. They took the summer off, fine. Now they're losing a second movie or a new season of their lucrative show. The rest of the industry is also frustrated. After the grueling 148-day writer's strike, many hoped SAG-AFTRA would negotiate gains on a few actor-specific issues, then wrap this up quickly so production can restart by the end of the year. Now everything is getting pushed to 2024 or beyond, and next summer's movie season is in disarray. It's a mess, no matter who you blame. The studios could end this tomorrow, so could the union. According to Puck, the studios will need to settle for some kind of revenue-sharing scheme to resolve the impasse. Well, I sure hope that 57-cent levy per subscriber makes up for the 6 months of lost work for actors, writers, and all the below-the-line workers who don't work for your unions, and prepare prepares an industry to restart for the second time in half a decade, and it may or may not work over the next 2 years if there's any theaters left. Let's keep in mind, both these unions are led and largely represent the interests of the lower earning members, many of whom don't work. Yet, the burden of the walkout falls on the middle and high earners, as well as the rest of the adult pretending community that will not see any financial benefit from a deal. Remember, only 14% of the Film Actors Guild members make at least $26,470 a year annually to qualify for health care coverage, according to the union. A Times trend piece about actors returning to restaurant jobs during the strike was a head scratcher because most actors already had other jobs before the strike. At least they get to be striking actors now rather than unemployed actors, and there's less incentive to make a deal. Unfortunately, thanks to the strike, there's going to be a lot more unemployed actors and writers, but the ones who are left are probably going to get a good deal. So after A-listers like George Clooney and Emma Stone tried to pay off their own union to end the strike, and after that embarrassment, the Film Actors Guild decided to double down and ban their members from wearing Halloween costumes, it's no surprise that the Screen Actors Guild has decided to resume talks with the producers. And maybe, just maybe, some members of all sides have noticed that nobody cares other than getting some mild amusement from this clown show. Yet, now that the strike is winding down, what lies ahead for woke Hollywood? Insiders weigh in. What comes after peak TV? What's the next labor battle? Whose stories will be told? The Hollywood Reporter asks 4 Hollywood players from different quarters of the industry for their predictions on what a post-strike era might look like. The Actors Union and the studios have ceased negotiations for the time being, extending Hollywood's summer of strikes into at least the late fall. Eventually, however, this too must end, right? And while the town will breathe a much-needed sigh of relief when that happens, the tensions and problems that led the industry to the breaking point have not gone away. The contraction of production, the end of peak TV, the uphill battle for theatrical, and the coming fights over artificial intelligence. The lack of talent producing low-quality content due to their slavish adherence to the message. Polluting some of our favorite stories and characters with intersectionalism and identity politics. Oh wait, they didn't mention that. These issues will haunt the entertainment industry for years to come. The Hollywood Reporter talked to 4 people: Noah Hawley, a showrunner; Gina Prince Blythewood, a director; Teamsters boss Lindsay Doherty, and producer Mikey Lee. And quite frankly, the only one who made sense was Noah Hawley, the former showrunner of Legion and Fargo. The last 5 years in Hollywood, as in America, have been defined by complexity. That's a nice way to put it. We've seen it both in the sophistication of prestige TV, or the lack of sophistication, and in the labyrinth distribution systems we have to navigate in order to watch it. I think the next 5 years will place the emphasis on clarity. The audience of the very near future, or now, will shy away from entertainment that feels too real, i.e. topical, and morally ambiguous. Oh, you mean they want to stay away from on-the-nose political junk and nihilism? Yes. At the same time, the market will consolidate. 500 shows will become 300. 10 streamers will become 5, with fewer shows and films to watch. Hey WGA, how does that strike victory feel now? Stars will become more meaningful in attracting audiences, with celebrity offering its own kind of clarity. Well, see, there's the problem. The era of the movie star is over, thanks to social media, because the mystery is gone and we got to know him. Gotta give credit to Noah Hawley though. It sounds like he's a realist and he's making sense. In this new phase of the business, viewers will gravitate towards stories that make sense to them, not ones where the imagined world, like our real one, is divided and hard to fathom. Translation: oh shit, we better bring back escapism. Turns out people really don't want to hear some rich, biased, empty-headed adult pretender using they, them, his or her platform to bitch about the injustices of the world, all while promoting their multi-million-dollar fantasy series whose source material was usurped and then turned into a platform that bitches about the injustices of the world. The rest of this article is Hollywood speak gobbledygook that uses the word diverse 8 times. Now, that does include 6 usages of the word diverse in 2 paragraphs by Gina Prince Blythewood. the director of The Woman King. Despite Noah Hawley making some sense, it looks like woke Hollywood will never learn. In not too short a time, the studios, the Writers Guild, and the Film Actors Guild are gonna regret the hell out of this strike. Hell, it was just a few months ago when both the writers and the actors and their representative unions were looking for the government to break up the giant companies that they are now begging to make a deal with. And my good friend Eric July put it best. They're begging to make a deal with the devil. So when the strike eventually ends and it's all said and done, there's going to be half the TV shows, half the movies, half the companies, half the streamers, half the opportunities, based on the system that you in Hollywood imprisoned yourself in. And it's going to have serious repercussions on below the line workers and a lot of innocent parties and this really important thing that Hollywood needs: the theater. Just look at that list of films coming out through Christmas. It's filled with projected underperformers, including The Marvels, the Hunger Games prequel, and the soon-to-be very first Hollywood box office plop, Aquaman 2. Sure, there's a couple of movies that look good, Silent Night, The Iron Claw, Ferrari, but none of them are going to be box office bonanzas, and honestly, the list looks grim and tired. Along with the rest of Tinseltown, Disney is tired, Bob Iger is definitely tired, the actors look tired, and quite frankly, the ideas from Hollywood are tired. And the audience is way past tired. A few months ago, I said it was just woke Hollywood fatigue, but now it's something worse. It's Hollywood fatigue. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com.